Welcome to the Reasonable Southerner podcast. The South isn't all magnolias in the moonlight, but neither is it all racism and violence. We are just like you. My name is Frances Coleman. I share my insights about my life and yours. We put a man on the moon, but we can't figure out immigration. The difference between managing a moonshot and an international border is not about technology or the lack of it. It's about facing the task of making rational, reasonable rules without pandering to fear and prejudice. I've said it before, and I will say it again. When we humans, especially we American humans, put our minds to doing something, we can do it. Americans are not unique or even unusual in this. Determination and effort have been yielding results for centuries. Consider that more than 2,000 years before the birth of Christ, Egyptians constructed the Great Pyramid of Giza. It's over 450 feet tall, and according to archaeologists, took about 20 years to build. Some historians say the workers were slaves. Others insist that they must have been skilled craftsmen. Whatever, without modern tools and technology, those slaves and/or craftsmen pushed, pulled, dragged, and otherwise wrestled an estimated 2.3 million blocks of granite into what is the oldest of the seven wonders of the ancient world. Meanwhile, in another part of the world, but at the same time, prehistoric men were arranging giant stones, some as much as 30 feet tall and weighing 25 tons, in a circular pattern that we now know as Stonehenge. Again, no modern tools or technology, just blood, toil, tears, and sweat. Fast forward about 3,500 years, and it's the 20th century. The summer of 1969, to be precise. The first Earthling has set foot on the moon, a mission that cost the U.S. government about $155 million. Some are proclaiming it mankind's greatest achievement. More than 50 years later, it's now the 21st century. And as we look over our shoulders to the past and ahead to the future, we know that we Americans can do just about anything we decide to. Yet we can't figure out a workable immigration policy. We can't devise a way to control our borders, to create an orderly process of applying to live in, work in, attend school in, or visit the United States, to keep up with who's here on temporary visas, and to process and humanely deal with people who enter illegally. We have an elected Congress, an elected president, an appointed cabinet, and God only knows how many hired bureaucrats with spiffy college degrees, and we can't come up with workable laws and regulations? Really? Planes zoom overhead. We carry phones that double as personal computers. Doctors cure cancers and transplant organs. We can contact people halfway around the world in an instant, and we can't figure out immigration? As Colonel Potter of MASH would say, horse hockey. Truth is, we can figure out immigration. You know it, I know it, and everybody else knows it, including the politicians in Washington, even if they act like they don't know it. We could tackle this problem any number of ways. Congressional leaders could create a bipartisan committee from among their members and task the panel to come up with some workable plans. Or the president could appoint a select commission of highly respected civic, legal, and business leaders to do the same thing and make their recommendations to Congress. The panelists or commission members could refuse to be bullied or bought. They could hold public hearings to listen to what immigration specialists, policy experts, sociologists, lawyers, governors, and ordinary Americans think. The idea being to figure out what would work and what wouldn't work and why. They could make it clear that they don't care who gets or takes credit for the resulting plan as long as it's good. And they also could say up front that as it's put into action, it will probably need some tweaks and adjustments. But they would be secure in the knowledge that while immigration is a very tough and politically explosive issue, after all, if it were easy, somebody would have already figured it out, the real difficulty in handling immigration is plain old bigotry. Lots of people don't like other people who don't sound like, look like, or act the way they do. It's an old story. My ancestors came to America from a little county in Ireland called Roscommon. While the obituary of my great-grandfather looked back wistfully on his origins as the son of a prize-winning stockman in Ireland, the truth more likely is that he was a hungry young man who managed to get on a ship to New York. No one greeted him at the pier but an army recruiter. As an ex-British infantryman, he signed up. He and his countrymen, who now march across America on St. Patrick's Day and swill green beer, were called Dirty Micks. The paddy wagon got its name because everyone knew that a wagon load of those sons of St. Patrick regularly had to be hauled away in their drunken stupor. The curse of the Irish, you know. I live in a community that was settled by immigrants from Chicago in the early 20th century. Those settlers came down on special trains to buy and settle cut-over timberland. They had come from Bohemia, Czechoslovakia, Germany, Norway, Sweden, Denmark, Italy, and Greece. It amazes me that a lot of their grandchildren and great-grandchildren are horrified to see Hispanic families move here. How easily we forget the pain of prejudice and itch to inflict it on someone else. Not that long ago, the federal government got tough with those pesky immigrants. They rounded them up at work and put them in jail. Their little children went home to find that Mommy and Daddy were gone. This was not done to control immigration. It was a terror tactic used to frighten all immigrants and to throw red meat at the kind of Americans who have forgotten where we came from and how we got here. Controlling immigration would be easy in one respect. Find the large companies who hire illegals a large sum of money for every day an illegal immigrant was on the payroll. The jobs would dry up and there would be no incentive to immigrate. But the problem for big business is this: they need the labor. If you're a politician, especially if you're a good old race-baiting Southern politician, it's a lot more politically profitable to fan the flames of ethnic and racial hatred and at the same time keep those illegal immigrants working. Without them, there wouldn't be enough people in agriculture, construction, food processing, and the hospitality industries. Excite your base by demonizing immigrants and keep those illegals busy picking fruit, driving nails, and cutting up chickens. Business needs hard-working laborers who will show up on time and not complain. Want to solve the problem? Make it a problem of those who profit from the work of illegal immigrants. Embracing common sense and even-handed solutions like that is distasteful for those in politics, however. It would take a groundswell of public insistence and a healthy dose of political leadership. But fixing this problem is not rocket science, and it's not stacking up 2.3 million blocks of granite or forming a circle of 25-ton rocks. Civilizations before us built the pyramids and Stonehenge. It took a lot of cooperation and, most of all, leadership. We put a man on the moon. Surely we can turn away from pandering politics and make good policy on immigration. We can do this. Really, we can. I'm Frances Coleman. I've worked for newspapers for more than 45 years, from Texas to my native Louisiana, and finally to my home near Mobile, Alabama. I've been a reporter, an editorial writer, a columnist, and an editorial page editor. I've commented on the BBC, been a guest on the Rachel Maddow Show, and had my column distributed nationwide. If you like this podcast, please follow it. It's free. And even if you don't like it, I hope you will find it thought-provoking.